As the echoes of the council's outrage faded into the polished corridors, Jack found himself thrust into a whirlwind of preparation. The palace engineers, a motley crew of tentacled beings and shimmering holograms, eyed him with skepticism as they handed over a sleek scout ship, its hull gleaming like polished obsidian under the artificial lights. "This is insanity," muttered one, its voice a low buzz, but orders from Lysara were absolute, and so they equipped him with the tools he'd requested: spare circuits, a portable EMP generator cobbled from salvaged parts, and a navigation console that hummed with untapped potential. Jack's hands moved with a familiar ease, tweaking wires and calibrating frequencies, his mind already mapping out the chaos ahead. The Kravos fleet loomed like a storm on the horizon, their signals flickering across the scanners in ominous patterns. Jack knew the risks, venturing into enemy territory alone, with nothing but his wits and a makeshift device. Yet, as he boarded the ship, a strange thrill coursed through him. This wasn't just about saving a kingdom, it was about proving something deeper, something about humanity's unyielding spark in a universe that often overlooked them. Lysara watched from the command bridge, her silhouette framed against the vast viewport that overlooked the stars. The weight of her decision pressed on her, but so did an unfamiliar warmth. This human, Jack, with his easy grin and unpretentious manner, had ignited a curiosity she hadn't felt in ages. She turned to her advisor, a wise old entity named Alar, whose form shifted like liquid silver. "Escort him to the launch bay personally," she instructed, her voice steady but laced with an undercurrent she couldn't quite suppress. "And ensure he has everything he needs." Alar bowed, its form rippling. "As you wish, Your Highness, but a human, are you certain?" Lysara's eyes flashed. "More certain than I've been of any suitor who paraded through these halls." She dismissed Alar with a wave, her thoughts drifting back to Jack's unexpected entrance, the way his presence had cut through the pomp like a fresh breeze. What was it about him? His lack of pretense, perhaps, or the quiet confidence that simmered beneath his humble exterior? In the launch bay, Jack was double-checking the EMP rig when he heard the soft whisper of footsteps. He looked up, and his breath caught. There stood Lysara, alone, her gown hugging her curves in a way that made the stars outside seem dim by comparison. Her white hair flowed freely now, unbound from the formal braids of the throne room, and her elf-like ears perked slightly, catching the hum of the engines. She approached with a grace that seemed to defy gravity, her pale skin glowing faintly in the bay's lights. "Jack," she said, her voice softer than before, carrying a hint of vulnerability that surprised even her. "I came to wish you well." He straightened, wiping his hands on his jumpsuit, suddenly aware of how out of place he must look beside her ethereal beauty. "Princess," he replied, his tone respectful but warm. "Didn't expect the royal send-off. Figured I'd just slip out quietly." She smiled, a genuine curve of her lips that lit up her features. "You deserve more than that, your plan. It's bold, reckless, even, but if it works, you'll have saved us all." Their eyes met, and in that moment, the vastness of space felt intimate. Jack felt a pull, an inexplicable connection that went beyond words. "I've fixed worse messes with less," he said, trying to lighten the mood. "Back on Earth, we call it improvisation or dumb luck." Lysara stepped closer, her scent, a mix of stardust and exotic blooms, enveloping him. She reached out, her fingers brushing his arm, sending a spark through his skin. "It's more than luck, I see it in you. This fire, humans are full of surprises." The air between them thickened, charged with unspoken possibilities. Jack's heart raced, not from the impending danger, but from her proximity. Her body, so perfectly formed, radiated a warmth that drew him in, her gown's fabric whispering against her skin as she moved. He could see the subtle rise and fall of her chest, the way her eyes darkened with intrigue. "Tell me," she murmured, her voice dropping to a husky whisper, "what drives a man like you? No titles, no armies, just courage and a mop." Jack chuckled softly, but his gaze held hers. "Simple things, really. A job well done, a quiet night under the stars, and now, maybe proving to a princess that we're not all just cleaners." Her hand lingered on his arm, tracing a light path upward, her touch igniting a fire he hadn't anticipated. The suspense of the mission hung over them, but in this stolen moment, it fueled something else, a growing tension, erotic in its subtlety. Lysara's lips parted slightly, her breath quickening as she leaned in, her body brushing against his. "Show me," she challenged, her words a velvet invitation. "Before you go, show me this human fire." Jack hesitated only for a heartbeat, then cupped her face gently, his thumb grazing her cheek. Their kiss was electric, a fusion of worlds colliding, her soft, alien grace meeting his earthly passion. Her lips tasted of cosmic secrets, sweet and intoxicating, and as she pressed closer, her curves molding to him, the world narrowed to just them. Her hands explored his back, fingers delving under the fabric of his jumpsuit, discovering the hard planes of his muscles earned from years of labor. He pulled her into a shadowed corner of the bay, away from prying eyes, the hum of the ship providing a rhythmic backdrop. Lysara's gown slipped from one shoulder, revealing the smooth expanse of her luminous skin, and Jack's kisses trailed down her neck, eliciting soft gasps that echoed in the confined space. She arched against him, her elf-like ears flushing with color, a sign of her arousal in her species. The erotic dance built slowly, suspenseful in its unfolding, each touch heightening the anticipation of what might come next. But the mission loomed, a shadow that added urgency to their encounter. Jack's hands roamed her body, memorizing the feel of her, the way she responded with a fervor that matched his own. "Lysara," he whispered against her skin, his voice rough with desire. Us, it's crazy." She laughed breathlessly, her fingers tangling in his hair. "In the stars, crazy is the only way to live." She pulled him deeper into the embrace, their bodies entwining in a rhythm that spoke of promises yet to be fulfilled. The erotic tension coiled tighter, suspense building as they teetered on the edge, the danger outside mirroring the intensity within. Yet, as alarms began to chime softly, signaling launch readiness, reality intruded. Lysara pulled back slightly, her eyes gleaming with a mix of passion and resolve. "Go," she said, her voice trembling. "Save us and come back to me." Jack nodded, his body still humming from their closeness. He adjusted his jumpsuit, stealing one last kiss before heading to the cockpit. As the ship powered up, he glanced back, seeing her standing there, a vision of longing and strength. The stars awaited, fraught with peril, but now he had more than duty driving him, he had her. The scout ship slipped into the void, cloaked in stealth fields that masked its approach. Jack navigated through asteroid fields and nebulae, his scanners picking up the Kravos signals growing stronger. Suspense gnawed at him, one wrong move, and he'd be vaporized. But thoughts of Lysara fueled his focus, her touch a lingering phantom that kept the fear at bay. Back in Auralis, Lysara paced the bridge, her mind replaying their intimate moments. The council watched her warily. Sensing the shift in her demeanor, Alar approached cautiously. "Highness, the fleet is mobilizing. If the human fails, he won't." She snapped, her voice fierce. But inwardly, doubt crept in, mingling with the erotic afterglow that still warmed her skin. What if he didn't return? The thought sent a shiver through her, heightening the stakes. Hours stretched into eternity as Jack closed in on the Kravos relay station, a massive spire orbiting a gas giant, guarded by patrols. His heart pounded, the suspense palpable in the cockpit's confined space. He activated the EMP device, fingers flying over controls. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, launching a probe disguised as debris. The probe inched closer, undetected, while Jack held his breath. Explosions of doubt fired in his mind. What if the frequency was off? What if they spotted him? But then, success, the EMP detonated, a silent pulse rippling through space. Kravos signals fractured, their swarm disintegrating into chaos. Ships collided in confusion, drones spiraling aimlessly. Elation surged through Jack, but it was short-lived. Alarms blared, a Kravos fighter had locked on. Laser fire grazed his shields, the ship bucking wildly. "Come on, girl," he urged the vessel, evading with maneuvers born of desperation. The chase was on, suspense twisting every turn through the asteroid belt. In Auralis, scanners lit up with the disruption. Cheers erupted, but Lysara's eyes fixed on Jack's signal, flickering amid the fray, her body tensed, remembering his touch, the way he'd made her feel alive. "Hold on," she whispered, her voice a prayer to the stars. Jack's ship screamed through space, the fighter closing in. He spun, firing countermeasures that bloomed like fireworks. The erotic memory of Lysara's embrace sharpened his resolve. He had to survive, had to return to her arms. With a final, daring loop, he lured the pursuer into an asteroid, watching it explode in a fiery burst. Panting, he set course for home, the galaxy seeming brighter, but unknown to him, a shadow lingered, a Kravos scout had survived, trailing silently. The suspense simmered, the erotic promise of reunion hanging in the balance. As Auralis came into view, Lysara waited, her heart a storm of anticipation. Their worlds had collided, and now, nothing would be the same. The corridors of the palace seemed longer than ever as Jack was led away by a pair of stern guards, their armor clinking softly in rhythm with his hurried steps. His mind spun like a nebula in turmoil, replaying the moment in the throne room over and over, the way Lysara's eyes had locked onto his, piercing through the layers of doubt and ridicule from the council. Fear gnawed at the edges of his excitement. He was no hero from the old Earth tales, just a guy with a plan that sounded good in theory. But her words echoed in his ears. "Prove your words, and you may yet surprise us all." Surprise them? Hell, he'd surprise himself if he pulled this off. Lysara remained on her throne long after the chamber emptied, the crystal facets reflecting her solitary figure like a constellation trapped in glass. Her heart, usually a calm sea under starry skies, now rippled with unfamiliar waves. This Jack, this unassuming human, had stirred something deep within her, a curiosity that bordered on longing. She rose slowly, her gown whispering against the floor, and made her way to the observation deck, where the vast expanse of space stretched out like an invitation. The Kravos threat loomed out there, a dark cloud threatening to eclipse everything she held dear. Yet, her thoughts kept drifting back to him, to the spark in his eyes, the quiet strength in his voice, in the bowels of the palace. Jack was ushered into a preparation chamber that hummed with advanced tech, holographic displays flickering with tactical data, engineers scurrying like comets in orbit. They outfitted him with a sleek flight suit that hugged his body, its fabric adaptive and shimmering faintly. "This will protect you from minor breaches," one engineer explained, its voice a melodic trill. Jack nodded, flexing his fingers in the gloves, feeling oddly empowered. But as he strapped on the utility belt loaded with tools, including his trusty mop handle repurposed as a multi-tool, a shadow fell over the doorway. It was Lysara. She had slipped away from her duties, drawn by an impulse she couldn't ignore. The guards outside straightened, but she waved them off with a graceful flick of her wrist. "Leave us," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of stars. They obeyed without question, sealing the door behind them with a soft hiss. Jack turned, his breath catching at the sight of her. Up close, without the throne's distance, she was even more mesmerizing, her white hair cascading like silver rivers, her skin glowing with an inner light that made her seem almost translucent. Her elf-like ears twitched subtly, picking up the subtle hum of the room, and her gown clung to her curves in ways that hinted at the sensuality beneath her regal poise. "Princess," said, his voice rougher than intended. "Didn't expect to see you here." She stepped closer, the air between them thickening with unspoken tension. "I couldn't let you go without ensuring you're prepared." Her eyes traced the lines of his new suit, appreciating how it accentuated his human form, broad shoulders, lean muscles honed from manual work. There was something raw about him, untamed by the galaxy's polished veneer, and it drew her in like gravity. Jack felt the heat rise in his cheeks, but he held her gaze. "I've got what I need, your engineers are top-notch." He gestured to the EMP device on the table, a compact sphere pulsing with contained energy. But his words felt inadequate. The real preparation he craved was something far more personal. Lysara reached out, her fingers brushing the fabric over his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath. "It's not just the tools, Jack. It's the man wielding them." Her touch lingered, sending a jolt through him, electric and intimate. The room seemed to shrink, the hum of machinery fading into a distant murmur. She leaned in, her breath warm against his ear. "Tell me, human, do you fear what's out there?" He swallowed, his hands instinctively finding her waist, pulling her closer. "A little, but fear keeps you sharp." Her body pressed against his, soft and yielding yet charged with power, her curves fitting perfectly, as if the stars had designed them for this moment. The suspense of the impending mission hung heavy, amplifying every sensation, the way her hair brushed his cheek, the subtle scent of cosmic blooms that clung to her skin. Their lips met in a kiss that ignited like a supernova, fierce and consuming. Lysara's hands explored his back, fingers delving under the suit's seams, tracing the warmth of his skin. She gasped softly as he reciprocated, his touch bold yet gentle, awakening desires she had long suppressed amid her duties. The erotic dance unfolded slowly, suspense building with each caress, each whispered breath. Jack's kisses trailed down her neck, eliciting shivers that made her elf-like ears flush with color, a telltale sign of her arousal. "Why now?" he murmured against her collarbone, his voice husky with need. "Because tomorrow might never come." She replied, her voice a sultry melody. She guided his hands to the clasps of her gown, the fabric parting like mist to reveal more of her luminous form. The sight of her elegant, vulnerable, yet commanding stoked the fire within him. They moved together in a rhythm born of urgency, the preparation chamber transforming into a sanctuary of passion. her body arched under his touch, responsive and eager as they teetered on the edge of surrender. But the mission's shadow loomed, adding a layer of forbidden thrill. Alarms could blare at any moment, the council could interrupt, yet that risk only heightened the intensity. Lysara's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him deeper into the embrace, her moans soft echoes in the confined space. Jack's hands roamed freely, memorizing every curve, every sigh, as if etching her into his soul. Time stretched and contracted, the erotic suspense coiling tighter. She pushed him against the console, her dominance playful yet assertive, her eyes gleaming with a mix of curiosity and hunger. "Show me more of this human fire," she challenged, her body grinding against his in a tantalizing promise. He obliged, lifting her effortlessly onto the edge of the table, their connection deepening in ways that blurred the lines between worlds. The feel of her skin against his, the way she responded with unbridled passion, it was intoxicating. A blend of alien grace and earthly fervor. Suspense wove through their intimacy. Would they be discovered? Would the war claim them before they could explore this further? As their breaths mingled in ragged harmony, Lysara pulled back slightly, her eyes locked on his. "You must succeed, Jack, for Auralis, and for this." Her words were a vow, laced with the erotic afterglow that still shimmered between them. He nodded, adjusting his suit with trembling hands, the memory of her touch a talisman against the void. "I will, wait for me." She watched him depart for the launch bay, her body still humming with desire, the palace corridors now feeling emptier without him. The stars outside beckoned, fraught with danger, but for the first time, hope flickered alongside the fear. Jack's ship pierced the darkness, engines roaring to life as he navigated toward the Kravos border. The EMP device sat ready, but his mind wandered back to her, the taste of her lips, the warmth of her embrace. It fueled him, turning suspense into determination. The fleet's signals grew stronger on his scanners, a web of threats waiting to ensnare him. Infiltration was key. He cloaked the ship, slipping through patrols like a ghost. Heart pounding, he docked near a relay outpost, the structure a menacing spike against the stars. Sneaking aboard, mop tool in hand, he evaded guards, his steps silent in the alien corridors. A close call, a patrol nearly spotting him, sent adrenaline surging, echoing the erotic thrill from earlier. He planted the device, fingers flying over controls, suspense peaking as timers counted down. Explosion rippled silently through space, disrupting signals. Chaos erupted, Kravos' ships veered off course, colliding in disarray. Jack raced back to his ship, lasers grazing the hull. Pursuit followed, fighters swarming like angry hornets. He dodged through debris fields, the chase a heart-stopping ballet. One hit shook the vessel, alarms blaring, but thoughts of Lysara steadied him. Back in Auralis, Lysara monitored from the bridge, her body tense with worry and lingering passion. Reports flooded in, Kravos in retreat, their swarm broken, relief washed over her, mingled with anticipation for his return. Yet, as Jack's ship limped home, a hidden tracker activated on his hull, a Kravos spy device undetected. The suspense lingered, a dark undercurrent to the victory. Lysara awaited in the bay, her gown flowing like liquid starlight, ready to welcome her unlikely hero. Their eyes met as he disembarked, the erotic promise reigniting in a single glance. The docking bay doors sealed with a resonant thud behind Jack as he stepped onto the platform, his boots echoing in the vast chamber like the heartbeat of an awakening giant. Lysara's presence pulled him forward, her luminous figure standing amidst the swirl of technicians and guards who parted like nebulae before a comet. Their eyes locked, and in that instant, the chaos of his return, the scorched hull of his ship, the acrid scent of overheated circuits, faded into insignificance. The promise that had simmered between them reignited, a silent vow hanging in the air, but the galaxy had other plans, ones that would test the fragile bond they'd forged. She crossed the distance in a few graceful strides, her gown flowing like liquid mercury, and before the onlookers could fully process the scene, she enveloped him in an embrace that spoke volumes. Her arms wrapped around him, her body pressing close, the warmth of her skin seeping through his suit. "You did it," she whispered, her voice a tremor of relief and something deeper, her elf-like ears brushing against his cheek. Jack held her tightly, inhaling her scent, but even in this moment of triumph, a nagging unease prickled at the back of his mind. The mission had gone too smoothly, the escape too clean. The council erupted into the bay moments later, a tide of robes and exclamations, their faces a mosaic of astonishment and grudging respect. "The Kravos fleet is in disarray," proclaimed Alar, its liquid form rippling with excitement. Signals confirm it, their communications are shattered, ships scattering like dust in a solar wind. Cheers rippled through the assembled crowd, but Lysara pulled back slightly, her sapphire eyes searching Jack's face. "How?" she asked, her tone laced with curiosity that bordered on awe. "Tell us everything." Jack recounted the tale as they moved toward the command bridge, his words painting vivid pictures of stealthy infiltration, the heart-pounding countdown of the EMP detonation, and the frantic chase through the asteroids. The council hung on every detail, their skepticism melting away like ice under a sun's glare. But as he spoke, alarms suddenly blared across the palace, red lights pulsing like arterial blood. "Incoming vessels," a technician shouted from a console. Kravos signatures, multiple warships breaching the perimeter. Panic surged through the bridge like a shockwave. Lysara's hand tightened on Jack's arm, her composure cracking for the first time. How is this possible? Their fleet was crippled. Jack's mind raced, piecing together the anomaly, the tracker he hadn't detected, the subtle ping that must have slipped through his scans. "They followed me," he realized aloud, his voice thick with dread. "I led them right here." The revelation hit like a plasma blast, but there was no time for blame. The view screens flared to life, displaying the approaching armada, jagged black hulls slicing through space, cannons glowing with malevolent energy. General Varkis's flagship loomed at the forefront, a behemoth of destruction, its insectoid design evoking nightmares of swarming horrors. "Auralis defenses online?" Lysara commanded, her voice rallying the crew. Shields shimmered into existence around the palace, but the Kravos were closing fast, their numbers swelling as reinforcements poured through a hidden warp gate. Jack felt the thrill of battle ignite within him, a human instinct honed by centuries of underdog stories. "We can't just defend," he urged, stepping to a tactical hologram. "We hit them where it hurts their command ship. If we take out Varkis, the rest will falter." The council murmured in protest, but Lysara nodded, her eyes gleaming with fierce determination. "Lead the counterstrike. Jack, I'll be at your side." What followed was a whirlwind of preparation, ships launching from bays like arrows from a bow. Jack piloted a fighter, Lysara in the co-pilot seat, her presence both comforting and electrifying. As they soared into the void, the battle unfolded in dramatic splendor, lasers crisscrossing the stars, explosions blooming like fiery flowers. The Kravos swarmed, their drones buzzing in erratic patterns, remnants of the disrupted signals making them unpredictable. Thrilling maneuvers defined the clash. Jack banked sharply to evade a barrage, Lysara firing precision shots that vaporized incoming threats. "Left flank incoming," she called, her voice steady amid the chaos. He spun the ship, unleashing a torpedo that struck a cruiser amidships, the vessel erupting in a cascade of debris. But the surprises mounted. Kravos boarding pods latched onto Auralis' outposts, insectoid warriors pouring forth with chitinous armor and venomous blades. Curiosity piqued when scanners revealed an anomaly. Varkis's ship harbored a captured human vessel, its tech integrated into their systems. "That's Earth tech," Jack muttered, a surge of anger fueling his piloting. "They've been scavenging our wrecks." The discovery added layers to the threat. How long had they been watching humanity? The climax built as they closed on the flagship, dodging through a gauntlet of fire. A surprising twist emerged. A Kravos defector transmitted coordinates, a rogue signal from within Varkis's ranks. Internal dissent? Lysara wondered aloud, her tone thrilled with possibility. Jack seized the opportunity, guiding their fighter through a breach in the shields, landing in the enemy hangar with a screech of metal. Drama intensified inside the ship, corridors alive with skittering foes, air thick with the buzz of wings. Jack and Lysara fought side by side, mop tool now a improvised staff, cracking exoskeletons with human ingenuity. She wielded an energy blade, her movements a deadly dance, but a venomous strike grazed her arm, drawing a hiss of pain. "Lysara!" Jack cried, pulling her to cover, his heart pounding with fear. In a thrilling standoff, they reached the bridge, confronting Varkis, a towering insectoid with multifaceted eyes gleaming hatred. "You dare challenge me, human worm?" It chittered, mandibles clicking. The battle was fierce. Varkis lunged with claws like scythes, Jack dodging with acrobatic grace, countering with a jury-rigged EMP pulse that stunned the beast. Lysara delivered the final blow, her blade piercing its core, but not before Varkis revealed a shocking secret. "Your princess hides more than you know," its dying words a curious enigma that hung in the air. As the flagship shuddered, self-destruct sequences activating, they raced back to their fighter, the escape a pulse-bounding sprint through collapsing halls. Explosions rocked the void behind them, the Kravos armada fracturing without their leader. Auralis cheered as they returned, but Jack's mind whirled with Varkis's words, a surprising shadow over their victory. Lysara collapsed into his arms in the bay, her wound minor but the exhaustion profound. "We did it," she breathed, her eyes holding mysteries yet unveiled. The thrill of survival mingled with curiosity. What secrets did she harbor? The battle won, but the true climax loomed in the revelations to come. The echoes of victory still reverberated through the docking bay as Lysara leaned heavily into Jack's embrace, her body a mix of triumphant exhaustion and lingering adrenaline. Her wound, a shallow gash from Varkis's claw, throbbed faintly under the makeshift bandage, but it was the weight of unspoken truths in her eyes that truly anchored her to him. "We did it," she repeated, her voice a soft murmur against his chest, laced with a vulnerability that made Jack's heart clench. Around them, the crew bustled with post-battle fervor, medics tending to the injured, engineers assessing damaged fighters, but in this intimate bubble, the galaxy narrowed to just the two of them, the revelations from Varkis's dying breath hovering like a distant storm cloud. Jack held her steady, his arms strong from years of menial labor now feeling like they were made for this very purpose. "Yeah, we did," he replied, his tone gruff but tender, brushing a strand of her silver-white hair from her face. Her skin felt warmer than before, flushed from the fight, and he couldn't help but notice how her gown, torn slightly at the hem, clung to her curves in a way that stirred memories of their earlier stolen moments. But before he could lean in for a kiss, the bay doors hissed open, admitting a procession of council members led by Alar, whose liquid form shimmered with urgency. "Your Highness, the palace is secure, but we must debrief immediately." And, the human? The interruption was as awkward as it was inevitable, the council's eyes widening at the sight of their princess entwined with a mere cleaner. Jack felt heat creep up his neck, his hold on Lysara loosening just a fraction as he straightened up, suddenly hyper-aware of his scorched flight suit and the mop tool still strapped to his belt like some ridiculous relic. Right here," he said, attempting a casual wave that came off more like a flail. One counselor, a tentacled being from Velquar, let out a series of bubbly chuckles that sounded suspiciously like laughter. The hero of the hour, mop and all, how quaint. Lysara shot the counselor a glare sharp enough to slice through hull plating, but a faint smile tugged at her lips, diffusing some of the tension. "Quaint or not, he saved us all. Now, if you'll excuse us, Jack needs medical attention too." She disentangled herself gracefully, though her hand lingered on his arm, a subtle claim that didn't go unnoticed. The group moved toward the medical wing, the drama of the battle giving way to the more personal theater of palace politics. Whispers followed them, speculation about the human's role, the princess's favoritism, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling of being a fish in a very fancy, alien aquarium. In the medical chamber, a sterile oasis of glowing pods and humming scanners, the awkwardness escalated. A medic, a slender alien with bioluminescent veins, insisted on scanning them both. Stripped down for full diagnostics, it instructed in a clinical monotone. Jack froze, glancing at Lysara, who was already slipping out of her damaged gown with the nonchalance of someone used to such procedures. Her body, revealed in the soft light, was a masterpiece of ethereal beauty, curves that invited touch. Skin that shimmered like pearl, her elf-like ears perking up as she caught his stare. "Problem, Jack?" she teased, her voice playful amid the drama. He coughed, fumbling with his suit zippers. "Just not used to an audience." The medic hovered nearby, and Alar had followed them in, ostensibly for security but clearly out of curiosity. Jack's attempts to undress modestly resulted in him hopping on one foot, tangled in his own pants, eliciting a genuine laugh from Lysara. "Humans and their modesty rituals," she said, her eyes sparkling with humor. "It's endearing, really." The moment lightened the air, but beneath it, drama simmered. Varkis's words echoed in Jack's mind, urging him to probe deeper. As the scans proceeded, with Jack now in a flimsy medical wrap that left little to the imagination, he couldn't hold back. "Lysara, what did Varkis mean? About you hiding something?" The question hung heavy, heightening the drama in the room. The medic paused, its veins pulsing brighter, and Alar's form rippled uneasily. Lysara's expression shifted, a flicker of something guarded crossing her features. "Not here," she whispered, but the awkward silence stretched, broken only by the scanner's beep. "It's complicated. Auralis has secrets, ones that could change everything." The revelation teased at the edges, building tension like a warp drive charging. Jack pressed gently, his voice low. I just took down a warlord for you. Think I can handle a little royal drama." She sighed, stepping closer, her bare skin brushing his in a way that sent sparks flying, erotic undercurrents mingling with the seriousness. But before she could respond, the doors burst open again, this time with a gaggle of suitors who'd survived the battle, drawn by news of the victory. "Princess, we came to offer our congratulations and renewed proposals," boomed a burly prince from Xandor, his scales glistening. The timing couldn't have been worse. Jack, half naked and wrapped like a gift, stood there as the suitor's eyes darted between him and Lysara, who was equally exposed. "This is the hero?" One sneered, a lanky diplomat with antennae quivering in disdain. Laughter bubbled up awkwardly from Jack. "Yeah, the mop guy, feel free to join the scan party." The humor diffused the immediate hostility, but drama flared as the prince puffed up. "A human, in such intimate quarters with our princess? Preposterous." Lysara's patience snapped, her voice commanding. "Preposterous is you barging in uninvited. Jack is more than any of you ever were." The standoff heightened, awkward glances exchanged, until Alar intervened with a diplomatic ripple. "Perhaps we adjourn to the council hall. Celebrations await." The group shuffled out, but not before Jack quipped under his breath. "Nothing says victory like a half-naked showdown." Lysara stifled a giggle, squeezing his hand. "You're incorrigible." In the hall, the drama intensified amid festivities. Tables groaned under exotic feasts, glowing fruits from distant worlds, beverages that shimmered like auroras, but whispers of Varkis's words had spread, courtesy of overheard comms, casting a shadow over the cheer. Jack found himself the center of attention, suitors circling like sharks, probing with veiled insults. "So, human, how does one go from scrubbing decks to slaying tyrants?" asked one, his tone dripping sarcasm. Jack grinned, popping a luminescent berry into his mouth. "Same way you go from proposing to pouting, practice." The retort drew chuckles, adding humor to the awkward rivalry. Lysara pulled him aside to a balcony overlooking the stars, the drama reaching a personal crescendo. "Jack, the secret? Auralis isn't just a kingdom. It's built on an ancient artifact, one that enhances our abilities but attracts threats like the Kravos." Her confession poured out, her body close, the awkwardness of their earlier exposure forgotten in the intimacy. Varkis knew, wanted it for himself, and now, with him gone, others might come. The revelation surprised him, but he pulled her into a hug. "Then we'll face them together, mop and all." She laughed, the sound light amid the tension, but a sudden alarm pierced the night, a scout report of lingering Kravos remnants. Drama heightened once more, awkward as Jack realized his wrap was slipping in the breeze. Maybe I should get dressed first?" Humor laced the urgency as they rallied, Lysara tossing him his suit with a wink. "Heroes don't need clothes, but it might help." The palace mobilized, the awkward suitors now forced to follow Jack's lead, their egos bruised but alliances forming. In the command center, plans unfolded, drama building with each new scan showing enemy probes. Jack's ingenuity shone, proposing a decoy using salvaged Kravos tech. But an awkward mishap occurred when a suitor accidentally activated a hologram of Varkis, scaring half the room into chaos. Laughter erupted amid the drama, bonds strengthening. Lysara watched Jack orchestrate it all, her heart swelling. As the night wore on, the threats neutralized with clever traps, the awkward situations forged unexpected unity. Yet, deeper secrets lingered, promising more revelations, the stars witnesses to their evolving saga. As the festivities wound down and the stars outside the palace windows twinkled like silent guardians, Lysara and Jack slipped away from the lingering crowd, the weight of those deeper secrets pulling them toward a private sanctuary. The corridors, usually bustling with life, felt intimately quiet now, their footsteps echoing softly as if the palace itself conspired to give them this moment. Lysara's hand remained in his, her fingers interlaced with a gentle firmness that spoke of the bond forged in battle and revelation. "Come with me," she murmured, leading him to her personal quarters, a chamber high in the spires where the cosmos felt close enough to touch. The door sealed behind them with a hushed sigh, sealing out the world and its lingering threats, allowing the evolving saga of their connection to unfold in privacy. The room was a haven of ethereal beauty, walls curving like the hull of a starship, adorned with holographic projections of swirling galaxies that cast a soft, ambient glow. A large bed dominated the center, draped in fabrics that shimmered like liquid silk, and nearby, a viewport offered an unobstructed view of the stars, making it feel as though they were adrift in the void together. Lysara turned to Jack, her sapphire eyes reflecting the starlight, a mix of vulnerability and desire etching her features. Those secrets, they can wait a little longer, she said, her voice a velvet caress. Tonight, after everything, I need to feel alive, with you. Jack felt a surge of warmth spread through him, the drama of the day transforming into a more personal intensity. He stepped closer, his hands finding her waist, pulling her gently against him. I've been thinking about this since the moment I left for that mission. He admitted, his breath mingling with hers. Her body responded instinctively, pressing into his with a softness that invited exploration. Their lips met in a kiss that started slow, tender, building from the embers of their earlier encounters into something deeper, more urgent. Lysara's gown, already mended hastily from the battle, slipped easily from her shoulders under his touch, revealing the luminous curve of her skin, smooth and inviting like polished marble under moonlight. She guided him to the bed, their movements fluid and unhurried, savoring the anticipation that had built through chaos and triumph. Jack's flight suit followed, discarded piece by piece, his human form strong, marked by the subtle scars of a life of labor, contrasting beautifully with her alien grace. As they lay together, the stars outside seeming to pulse in rhythm with their hearts, Lysara's fingers traced patterns across his chest, exploring the contours with a curiosity that made him shiver. Humans are so resilient, she whispered, her elf-like ears flushing with a soft glow, a sign of her growing arousal. He smiled, his hands roaming her back, feeling the subtle ridges along her spine that were unique to her species, like delicate filigree under his palms. The intimacy deepened as they connected, bodies aligning in a dance as old as the universe itself. Jack's touches were gentle yet assured, drawing soft sighs from Lysara as he discovered what made her arch and tremble. Her white hair fanned out across the pillows like a silver halo, and she pulled him closer, her legs wrapping around him in an embrace that spoke of trust and passion. The sensations built slowly, a crescendo of warmth and closeness, their movements synchronized in a rhythm that felt both natural and otherworldly. She gasped as waves of pleasure coursed through her, her skin shimmering brighter, as if drawing energy from the stars themselves. In this shared vulnerability, Jack felt a profound connection, his own desires mirroring hers in a blend of tenderness and intensity. He whispered her name like a prayer, his lips brushing her neck, eliciting more of those melodic sounds that filled the room. Lysara's hands gripped his shoulders, her nails lightly grazing his skin, not in pain but in ecstasy, as they moved together toward a peak that left them both breathless. The moment stretched, intimate and profound, a celebration of survival and the unexpected bond that had blossomed between a princess of the stars and a human cleaner. As they lay entwined afterward, the afterglow wrapping them like a warm nebula, Lysara rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. This, us, it's more than I ever imagined, she confessed, her voice soft with emotion. Jack stroked her hair, the strands silky and cool under his fingers. Me too. In a galaxy full of wonders, you're the brightest one. They shared quiet laughs, the humor from earlier awkward moments lingering in their teasing whispers, memories of half-naked scans and suitor interruptions adding a light-hearted layer to their closeness. But even in this sanctuary, the secrets she'd hinted at earlier began to surface, not as interruptions but as natural extensions of their trust. The artifact, she began, her tone shifting slightly. It's not just a power source for Auralis. It's tied to my lineage, enhancing our connections. It makes bonds like this deeper, more eternal. Jack propped himself up on an elbow, curiosity mingling with the lingering warmth. Eternal, like forever? She nodded, her eyes meeting his with a seriousness that heightened the intimacy. In ways that transcend species, but it comes with risks, drawing envy from across the stars. Their conversation wove through the night, bodies still close, touches reaffirming their words. Jack shared stories from Earth, simple tales of human resilience that made her laugh and wonder, while she described the vastness of her world, the loneliness of her throne before he arrived. The stars outside wheeled slowly, time losing meaning as they explored not just each other physically, but emotionally. The 18+ details of their union blending seamlessly with heartfelt revelations. As dawn's light filtered through the viewport, simulated, yet beautiful, Lysara rose, wrapping a sheer robe around her form, her silhouette alluring against the glow. We should prepare for what's next, she said, but there was no rush in her voice, only contentment. Jack pulled her back for one more kiss, deep and lingering, a promise of more to come. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. The palace stirred around them, but in this moment, their world was complete, the saga evolving with each shared breath, ready for the twists that lay ahead. The simulated dawn light softened into a gentle haze as Lysara and Jack lingered in the warmth of their shared embrace, the vastness of space outside the viewport serving as a serene backdrop to their quiet conversation. Her robe draped loosely over her shoulders, and Jack, propped against the pillows, traced idle patterns on her arm, the intimacy of the night still humming between them like a live current. "This artifact," he said thoughtfully, his voice a low rumble. "It sounds like more than just a power source. If it's tied to your lineage, does that mean it's alive, aware?" Lysara shifted closer, her head resting on his shoulder, her silver-white hair spilling across his chest like a cascade of moonlight. "In a way, yes. It's an ancient relic from the progenitors of Auralis, pulsing with energy that responds to true connections. But it's dormant most of the time, waiting for the right catalyst." She paused, her elf-like ears twitching slightly as if attuned to some distant frequency, and Jack felt a subtle shift in the air, a faint vibration emanating from somewhere deep within the palace. "Catalyst?" he echoed, curiosity peaking as he sat up a bit straighter. Lysara smiled faintly, her sapphire eyes reflecting the starlight. "Something, or someone, that awakens its full potential. Legends say it recognizes worth beyond bloodlines, drawing in those who embody the spirit of the stars." They lay there for a moment longer, the peace of the chamber wrapping around them, but Jack's mind wandered to the implications, wondering how a simple human like him fit into such cosmic lore. As if responding to his unspoken thoughts, a low hum began to build, subtle at first, like the distant thrum of engines powering up. Lysara's expression changed, her brows furrowing in mild confusion. "Do you feel that?" she asked, sitting up and glancing toward an ornate pedestal in the corner of the room, where a crystalline orb, the artifact itself, rested under a protective field. Jack nodded, a prickle of unease crawling up his spine. "Yeah, like a vibration. Is that normal?" Before she could answer, the hum intensified, the orb beginning to glow with an inner light that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. He placed a hand on his chest, feeling the syncopation, and Lysara's eyes widened in realization. "It's reacting to you." The room seemed to come alive, holographic projections flickering erratically as the artifact's energy surged. Lysara rose swiftly, her robe slipping slightly as she approached the pedestal, but Jack felt an inexplicable pull, compelling him to follow. "This shouldn't be happening," she murmured, deactivating the field with a wave of her hand. The orb levitated now, spinning slowly, its surface etching with ancient runes that shimmered like liquid gold. Jack reached out instinctively, his fingers brushing the crystal, and in that instant, a flood of visions assaulted him, flashes of forgotten wars, stellar births, and a lineage that stretched back to the dawn of the galaxy. But amid the chaos, one image stood out, a human figure, not unlike himself, standing at the heart of Auralis, crowned in starlight. The twist hit like a warp jump, sudden and disorienting. The artifact's voice, a melodic resonance that echoed in their minds, spoke directly to them. "The true heir awakens," it intoned, its words weaving through Jack's thoughts. Lysara staggered back, her face paling as the implications dawned. "No, it can't be." But the visions clarified. Jack wasn't just a random human cleaner. Hidden in his DNA, buried under generations of earthly obscurity, was the genetic marker of Auralis' ancient progenitors. Humans, it revealed, weren't the backward species the galaxy dismissed. They were the descendants of the very beings who seeded Auralis, scattered across the stars in a long-forgotten exodus. Jack's arrival wasn't coincidence, it was destiny, the artifact calling him home through subtle cosmic nudges. Shock rippled through Jack, his world tilting on its axis. "What? How?" he stammered, pulling his hand away, but the connection lingered, flooding him with knowledge, strategies for wars unspoken, insights into alien tech that made his EMP plan seem childish. Lysara stared at him, her expression a whirlwind of surprise, awe, and a hint of fear. "The legends? They spoke of a lost line, one that would return to claim the throne. I thought it was myth, a story to inspire hope. But you're the true king." The words hung heavy, the powerful twist reshaping everything, his humble origins on Earth, his accidental stumble into the throne room, even the ease with which he'd outwitted the Kravos, it all aligned now, guided by an unseen force. The chamber trembled slightly as the artifact stabilized, its glow settling into a steady radiance that bathed them in ethereal light. Jack's body hummed with newfound energy, subtle enhancements awakening sharper senses, a clarity of mind that bordered on precognition. He could feel the palace's systems responding to him, doors unlocking in his thoughts, defenses aligning with his will. "This is insane," he breathed, turning to Lysara, who approached him tentatively, her hands reaching out to touch his face as if seeing him anew. "All those suitors, they were never meant to win your heart. It was waiting for me." She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes, not from sorrow but from the overwhelming surge of fate's revelation. "The artifact chose you long before I did, but my feelings, they're real, Jack, not dictated by some relic." The intimacy of the night took on new depth, their connection amplified by this cosmic truth. Yet, the twist brought complications. If Jack was the heir, what did that mean for Auralis' hierarchy? For the council, the suitors still vying for power, and whispers of envy from across the galaxy, now that the artifact had awakened. As the initial shock ebbed, Jack felt a surge of empowerment, the HFY essence shining through, humanity, often underestimated, holding the key to galactic legacy. But surprise lingered in the air. Lysara revealed a hidden chamber beneath the palace where records confirmed the twist, ancient scrolls projecting holograms of human-like figures founding Auralis. "Your people, our people," she corrected, the word "our" binding them further. Jack laughed incredulously, the sound breaking the tension. From mop to monarch, talk about a career change. The artifact's activation didn't go unnoticed. Alarms began to chime softly, not in warning but in announcement, the palace AI broadcasting the heir's return. Council members converged outside the quarters, their voices a murmur of confusion and excitement. Alar's form appeared at the door via hologram, rippling with astonishment. "Highness, the systems are realigning. What has happened?" Lysara glanced at Jack, her hand in his, and with a shared nod, they stepped forward, ready to face the ripple effects of this surprising turn. But the twist deepened. Among the visions, Jack glimpsed a looming threat, a shadow faction within the galaxy, aware of the lost heir, who had manipulated the Kravos attack to flush him out. Varkis wasn't the end, he was the beginning, his dying words a deliberate clue. Drama escalated as Jack, now attuned to the artifact, sensed probes at the borders, subtle incursions testing Auralis' new strength. "They're coming," he said, his voice carrying a newfound authority. Lysara squeezed his hand, her surprise mirroring his. "Then we'll meet them as one." The night transformed into a whirlwind of strategy, Jack's enhanced insights guiding the council through holographic briefings. Suitors, once rivals, now bowed in deference, their egos humbled by the twist of fate. Humor peeked through the surprise. Jack quipped about needing a king-sized mop for the throne, lightening the mood amid the revelations. Yet, the powerful shift left everyone breathless. The listener caught off guard by the human's ascension, proving once more that in the stars, the most unassuming souls could rewrite destinies. As alliances reformed and defenses bolstered, Jack and Lysara stood at the viewport, the galaxy unfolding before them. The twist had surprised them all, but in its wake, a stronger union emerged, ready for the storms ahead. The stars outside the viewport seemed to hold their breath as Jack and Lysara stood there, hands intertwined, the weight of the artifact's revelations settling over them like a cosmic veil. The palace hummed with newfound energy, systems aligning to Jack's subtle commands as if recognizing their long-lost master. Lysara turned to him, her sapphire eyes searching his face, a blend of wonder and resolve shining through. "The council will have questions," she said softly, her voice carrying the echo of their intimate night. "And the suitors, they won't take this lightly." Jack squeezed her hand, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "Questions? I've got a few myself, like, does being king come with better cleaning supplies?" She chuckled, the sound lightening the moment, but the approaching footsteps in the corridor signaled that their private world was about to collide with the chaos of Auralis once more. The doors to the chamber slid open, admitting Alar and a contingent of council members, their expressions a mosaic of awe, confusion, and barely veiled apprehension. Alar's liquid form rippled erratically, a sign of its agitation. "The artifact's activation has triggered protocols we thought were legends," it announced, its voice modulating like a symphony in distress. The group halted abruptly upon seeing Jack and Lysara so close, the intimacy evident in their posture. An awkward silence stretched, broken only by a counselor's tentacle twitching nervously. Your Majesties," ventured another, a scaled diplomat whose eyes darted between them. Jack raised an eyebrow, stepping forward with Lysara at his side. "Majesties? That's new. Last I checked, I was still the guy with the mop." The humor landed unevenly, eliciting a few tentative chuckles, but it heightened the drama as the council processed the shift in power. Lysara, ever the diplomat, took charge. The artifact has revealed Jack as the true heir to Auralis' ancient line. Humanity shares our origins, and he is the catalyst we've awaited. Gasps rippled through the group, and one suitor, who had lingered in the shadows, perhaps hoping for a post-battle proposal, stepped forward, his antennae quivering in indignation. A human? On the throne? This is absurd. The awkwardness escalated as Jack scratched his head, feigning innocence. Absurd? Try explaining it to my old boss back on Earth. Hey, sorry I quit, got promoted to King of the Galaxy. The quip drew more laughter this time, diffusing some tension, but the drama simmered beneath. The suitor puffed up, his voice booming. I demand proof. This cleaner can't just waltz in and claim our princess and our kingdom. Lysara's eyes flashed, her hand tightening on Jack's arm. The artifact doesn't lie, and he's no mere cleaner, he's the one who saved us all. The standoff hung heavy, awkward glances exchanged among the council, until Alar intervened. A formal assembly in the throne room. We must verify and plan. Scans show shadow probes at the borders. The mention of the looming threat heightened the drama, turning personal rivalries into urgent alliances. As they moved en masse to the throne room, the palace corridors buzzed with whispers, servants and guards pausing in their duties to stare at Jack, now walking with an air of quiet authority. One young attendant, a wide-eyed alien with glowing fur, accidentally bumped into him, spilling a tray of crystalline orbs. Oh, stars, forgive me, you're… The attendant stammered, fumbling to collect the rolling spheres. Jack knelt to help, grinning. No worries. I've dropped worse, like my dignity in front of the council. The humor eased the boy's panic, but Lysara watched with a fond smile, the awkward situation underscoring Jack's approachable nature amid the escalating grandeur. In the throne room, the assembly swelled with dignitaries from across Auralis, holographic feeds linking remote allies. The artifact, now relocated to a central dais, pulsed softly, its runes aligning as Jack approached. Drama intensified as he placed his hand on it once more, the chamber filling with visions projected for all to see, ancient humans seeding the stars, their essence woven into Auralis' core. Murmurs turned to exclamations, suitors shifting uncomfortably as their claims evaporated. One particularly pompous prince from Xandor cleared his throat awkwardly. Well, this is unexpected. Does this mean we're all related to humans? Jack couldn't resist. Hey, family reunions just got interesting. Pass the cosmic potato salad. The light-hearted jab cut through the tension, but the real drama unfolded when scans revealed the shadow faction's advance, not mere probes, but a cloaked armada slipping through nebulae, led by an enigmatic figure known only as the Veil Master, a rogue progenitor descendant who had twisted the ancient tech for conquest. They've been pulling strings, Jack realized, his enhanced insights piecing together Varkis's manipulation as a pawn in a larger game. The council erupted in debate, awkward alliances forming as former suitors were forced to defer to Jack's strategies. We fortify the outer rings, he commanded, his voice carrying newfound weight, but an awkward hitch arose when a holographic map glitched, projecting a comical overlay of Jack's mop icon over the enemy fleet. Oops, he muttered. Old habits. Laughter rippled, humanizing the moment amid the rising stakes. Lysara stood by his side, her presence a steady anchor, but drama heightened with a personal twist. The artifact's bond amplified their connection, causing subtle empathic links, Jack feeling her worries, she sensing his doubts. During a brief recess, in a side chamber, this led to an awkward yet intimate situation. As they discussed tactics, a surge of shared emotion overwhelmed them, pulling them into a passionate kiss that was interrupted by Alar's untimely entry. I apologize. Alar rippled, retreating hastily. Jack pulled back, chuckling. Timing, buddy, ever heard of knocking? Lysara blushed, her elf-like ears tinting pink, adding humor to the flustered moment. Perhaps the artifact enjoys a bit of drama. She quipped, smoothing her gown. The levity was short-lived as alarms blared. The Shadow Armada had breached the first perimeter, their ships materializing like ghosts from the void. Drama soared as Auralis mobilized, fighters launching in a symphony of lights. Jack and Lysara boarded a command vessel, the bridge alive with tension. Awkwardness crept in when a suitor, now a reluctant subordinate, fumbled a console command, nearly firing on allies. Sorry, sire, old reflexes, he grumbled. Jack clapped his shoulder. No harm, just aim for the bad guys next time. Think of it as suitor practice, miss, and you lose the princess. The humor steadied nerves, but the battle raged fiercely. Ships clashed in a ballet of destruction, lasers weaving deadly patterns against the stars. The Veil Master's flagship, A colossal sphere wreathed in dark energy targeted the palace core. Jack's insights guided evasive maneuvers, but drama peaked when a boarding party infiltrated their vessel, shadow agents, cloaked in invisibility fields, materializing like nightmares. Hand-to-hand chaos ensued, Jack wielding his mop tool with enhanced prowess, cracking helmets and disarming foes. Lysara fought beside him, her energy blade a blur, but an awkward tumble sent them sprawling into a supply closet, tangled amid spare parts. Romantic getaway? Jack joked breathlessly, helping her up as they burst out to counterattack. Her laugh fueled his resolve, humor piercing the peril. The confrontation climaxed as they reached the bridge, facing a shadow lieutenant who revealed another layer. The Veil Master sought the artifact to sever human ties, erasing the lineage to claim sole dominion. "Your king is a fraud, a diluted echo," the lieutenant sneered. Drama intensified with a fierce duel, Jack's human ingenuity turning the tide by overloading a console to electrocute the intruder. But the victory was Pyrrhic, the flagship's main cannon locked on, forcing a desperate gambit. In a stroke of awkward brilliance, Jack repurposed the mop tool as a conduit, channeling the artifact's energy through the ship's systems to create a feedback loop. "If this works, great. If not, at least I go out cleaning up," he quipped, heightening the stakes with humor. The pulse erupted, disrupting the Armada's cloaks and scattering them. Cheers echoed, but the Veil Master escaped, vowing return, leaving drama simmering. Back in Auralis, the council convened anew, awkward bows to Jack mixing with genuine respect. Suitors departed, egos bruised but threats averted for now. Lysara pulled him aside, their bond deeper amid the chaos. "You were magnificent," she whispered. He grinned. "Team effort, though next time, let's skip the closet tumble." Her laughter sealed the moment, the saga weaving onward with drama, awkwardness, and humor intertwined. The echoes of laughter faded into a comfortable silence as Jack and Lysara stepped away from the command center, the palace settling into a rare calm after the storm of battle. The stars outside gleamed with a renewed brilliance, as if the galaxy itself approved of the victory they'd claimed. Lysara leaned against him, her body warm and familiar, the bond amplified by the artifact making every touch feel like a shared pulse of energy. "We've turned the tide," she said softly, her voice carrying a note of finality that hinted at the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Jack nodded, his arm around her waist, pulling her closer as they walked the luminous corridors toward the observation deck. "Yeah, but tides have a way of coming back. For now, though, let's just breathe." The deck overlooked the heart of Auralis, spires of crystal catching the light of distant suns, a testament to the kingdom's enduring spirit. They stood there, hand in hand, the weight of revelations and conflicts lifting like mist in the morning. The shadow faction's retreat had left scars, damaged outposts, weary allies, but also forged unbreakable ties. The council, once skeptical, now looked to Jack with respect, his human heritage no longer a punchline but a source of strength. Suitors had departed with grudging bows, their ambitions redirected, some even pledging support from their distant realms. "It's strange," Jack mused, staring out at the void. "A few weeks ago, I was mopping floors, dreaming of a quiet life. Now, this." Lysara turned to him, her sapphire eyes sparkling with affection. "Strange, perhaps, but right. The artifact knew, even if we didn't. You've brought humanity's fire to Auralis, reminding us all what it means to fight with heart." She traced a finger along his jaw, the touch sending a familiar spark through them both. The intimacy they'd shared, deepened by cosmic forces, felt eternal now, a blend of passion and partnership that transcended worlds. Jack captured her hand, kissing her palm. "And you've shown me the stars aren't so cold after all. Together, we're unstoppable." As if on cue, Alar materialized in holographic form nearby, its liquid shape stable and serene. "Pardon the intrusion, majesties, but the Alliance envoys have arrived. They wish to formalize the new era under your joint rule." The term joint rule hung in the air, a natural evolution from the artifact's bond. Jack glanced at Lysara, a grin spreading. "Joint? Sounds like we're sharing the mop duties." She laughed, the humor a gentle thread weaving through their story. Lightening the grandeur of it all, Alar rippled in what might have been amusement. "Indeed, the galaxy awaits your lead." The envoys gathering in the Grand Hall was a spectacle of unity, delegates from Velquar, Xandor, and beyond, their diverse forms a tapestry of the cosmos. Jack and Lysara entered side by side, no longer princess and cleaner, but equals in a legacy reborn. The artifact, now integrated into the throne's core, pulsed softly, its energy affirming their union. Speeches flowed like rivers of starlight, praises for Jack's ingenuity, Lysara's wisdom, and the HFY spirit that had turned underdogs into legends. One envoy, a tentacled ambassador, shared a tale of ancient prophecies fulfilled, his voice booming with reverence. The lost heir returns, mop in hand to sweep away darkness. Jack couldn't resist chuckling during his address. Well, if sweeping darkness means outsmarting tyrants with spare parts and a bit of luck, then count me in. But seriously, humanity's strength isn't in tech or titles, it's in never giving up, in finding family where you least expect it. His words resonated, drawing nods and cheers, the drama of their journey culminating in this moment of acceptance. Lysara added her voice, eloquent and poised. Auralis stands stronger because of him, of us. Let this be the dawn of a new alliance, where differences become our greatest asset. The ceremony sealed with a symbolic merging of lights, the artifacts glow intertwining with holographic emblems from each realm, creating a radiant emblem that projected across the stars. As the envoys mingled, toasts raised in exotic elixirs, Jack and Lysara slipped away once more, this time to a private garden suspended in a bubble of atmosphere amid the void. Exotic blooms floated gently, petals shimmering like tiny galaxies, and a soft melody played from hidden sources, composed of stardust harmonies. Here, away from eyes and expectations, they reflected on the path that had led them here. Remember that first awkward stumble into the throne room? Jack asked, pulling her into a slow dance under the stars. Lysara smiled, her body moving in perfect sync with his. How could I forget? You with your mop, me with my walls up high. 1,000 suitors, and none saw me like you do. Their dance was a blend of grace and playfulness, her gown swirling like a comet's tail, his steps earthy and sure. The romance that had sparked in stolen moments now bloomed fully, unhindered by threats or secrets. As they swayed, Jack shared visions from the artifact, glimpses of a future where humans and aliens coexisted, exploring uncharted realms, building bridges across the galaxy. No more overlooked species, he said. We'll show them all what partnership looks like. Lysara nodded, her head on his shoulder. And in quieter times, we'll have our own adventures, perhaps visit Earth, see where your fire was kindled. The idea warmed him, imagining her among Terran skies, elf-like ears perking at birdsong, her elegance contrasting with simple human joys, but the story's end wasn't without a touch of whimsy. As they kissed under the garden's artificial aurora, a small cleaning drone buzzed by, its mop attachment whirring comically. Old friends never leave, Jack quipped, and Lysara burst into laughter, the humor a perfect cap to their saga. The artifact's bond ensured their love would endure, a beacon for others, proving that in the vastness of space, true connections could defy all odds. Years blurred into legend, Auralis thriving under their rule, the princess of the stars and her human king inspiring tales across the cosmos. Suitors became allies, threats turned to triumphs, and humanity's place among the stars was forever secured. In quiet moments, Jack would still wield a mop now and then, a humble reminder of beginnings, while Lysara's heart shone brighter than any constellation. Together, they wrote a story of love, courage, and the unyielding spirit that binds worlds, a good ending, indeed, with endless horizons ahead. And so, in the endless expanse of the cosmos, Jack and Lysara's love became a legend, inspiring countless worlds to embrace unity and the unexpected heroes among us. Their story reminds us that true strength comes from the heart, not the stars. As the storyteller, I personally love how this tale celebrates humanity's resilience in a sci-fi romance. It's uplifting and full of surprises. What do you think? Would you want a sequel exploring their new adventures? Thank you all for watching. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are our biggest motivation to create even better stories. Hit that button and let's keep the adventure going.